Hey everyone, John here with Paddles Up Experiment. This is day 6, and just wanted to share from my heart a little bit of what not only I've been evolving into or maturing into, however you want to say it, internally, but what I see coming this next year for the men in particular. I think anytime you're self-aware or self-reflecting as a man particularly, it can be very challenging in who you share that information with. Now, I've come to the realization that it just doesn't matter anymore about being vulnerable, being authentic, being genuine, as much as I know to be now. We're always growing and evolving. That changes pretty rapidly, I've discovered. But when it comes to the men, I have really just a special place in my heart and my life for helping men to become more open in a safe space. And I know that sounds a little strange for someone may listening to this, like, what does that really mean? I think it's like this. Men for so long have been challenged with this idea from generation to generation that they need to be the tough guy and suck it up and don't show any emotion, because after all, they're the quote breadwinner. That's how it used to be, not anymore. But that mentality is still very much alive because it was passed down from generation to generation, that consciousness, So, it's the suck it up, tough guy, egoic stance and structure that is fast crumbling. And that goes across the board with humanity, right? Since we're ascending in this consciousness worldwide, globally in humanity, throughout humanity, then we come to realize that, wait a minute, the egoic structure just isn't working anymore. And in fact, it's crumbling. I'm becoming aware of my own egoic issues. And the more I do, the more I'm like, oh, okay, that's an area of my life that was neglected or wounded or traumatized, and the whole gamut goes across the board. So, in particularly, my wife and I are watching this interesting series. We're done with it now because it was just like 4 or 5 episodes, but it was very fascinating. It was the Limitless series on National Geographic with not Liam Hemsworth, but Chris Hemsworth, the Thor, right? The guy that plays Thor. Love the movies and love the guy. He's just the more I learn about him in whatever anybody says that knows him or that meets him, he's just a genuine, authentic, fun, caring guy. And in this series, Limitless, he gets more vulnerable than I've seen him in any interview or movie. In the fact that he's the idea behind the series. I don't want to give it away. I highly encourage you to watch it, especially men, because it paints a picture of Chris doing this self-discovery, self-awareness of longevity in his life, and he finds out some information about his lineage and yada yada. So, but at the end episode, it's very interesting of what takes place, because it's a shock factor for him, in the sense that he is awakening to living present. And this is significant because here's the Thor, here's this tough guy in these Marvel movies, and he's ripped and very well, he's fit, he's very well balanced in that sense, and it seems, and he's got this whole image, right, that Thor portrays, but yet he's becoming vulnerable in such a way that is very inviting for men to be the same in a place of safety. And meaning that I really feel for what's coming in this next year especially is the lid is coming off the heart of men so that they can feel this sense of safety and security, just in the spiritual sense, to say, okay, I can share what's been buried for so long because I've been having to play the Thor tough guy. And this Limitless series just really opened my eyes to see that, wait a minute. Let's slow down and see what's happening here with just one person that's a known figure, what is this doing to men and humanity across the board and the women who love them? It's like we're being brought into this spiritual awakening that says you can be safe enough to share because it is actually strength rather than portrayed as or perceived as weakness. For generations, it seemed that, if you showed any weakness as a man, especially, then you were thought of as, okay, why would we listen to that person? Because they're a weakling. They're a wimp, and it couldn't be further from the truth all the way through the generations, but even more so now because we're awakening in humanity. We're awakening to our emotions. We're awakening to the inner world of where every bit of life takes place. Out of the issues of the heart, the mouth speaks. The inner world of the kingdom of love that resides within inside of every human being is now being explored like never before. Where in times past, it was all the outer. It was the outward display of, I'm strong, I'm not going to cry, I'm going to power through this thing, I'm going to work these long hours and neglect my family, and all in the name of trying to get ahead through ambition. But we're discovering now, especially men, that we are looking at that life and we're like, it's not working. And because it's not working, we've destroyed some things along the way. We've left some baggage and we've left some real destruction in the wake of what we've tried to gain through ambition, tried to climb the corporate ladders, and our ego has brought us to a certain level of maybe influence or wealth or posture or position. But how much damage has it done in the name of get her done, And I think we're in a whole different time now. We're in a completely different time span where you've got this younger generation of men that are being made fun of, by the way, by the older generation, saying, look at what they're wearing. Look at these wimpy guys. They don't want to work. Look at how they're dressing. And they're more feminine than they are masculine. And the whole bit that people say about this, the millennials and the younger generations. But when you stand back or you rise up to like a 30,000 foot view level in God's view, then you're like, okay, wait a minute. What is God saying woven throughout the humanity of the up and coming generations? That's what I like to look at. And if we just pull back, if we scale back a little bit and say, okay, God, what are you really saying in these generations? Rather than pointing the finger in judgment and saying, look at what they're wearing. Look at them. They're just so, they're not part of the manly man generation, that kind of thing. And when we stand back in judgment and do that, then we're doing humanity a disservice, especially in that generation. Rather than seeking to understand, seeking to learn, rather than being prejudiced or biased or judgmental, and we sit back and take the posture of absorbing and receiving and looking at it from a God's point of view, then we'll say, wait a minute, could it be that God is trying to say something through men in that generation specifically, to say it's okay to show emotion. It's okay to have these deep conversations one with the other in a place of safety, of course, so that you don't feel like, okay, I'm being left wide open here and my ego is not ready for that yet. So a lot of these conversations are taking place one-on-one, especially in the younger world. Have you ever walked by a coffee shop? You ever walked by a restaurant? Or maybe you know some people, maybe you're that millennial, and you're hearing these deep conversations? Well, if you're making fun of that, then it just means that ego disillusion is taking place. Okay, if we fight against it, then we may break some things within our own life that we don't want to further break in our devastating wake of what we've built through egoic attempts and egoic effort. So, I think it's important to listen to those conversations, and then knowing that there's a level of safety there. And there's a grace there upon that generation to show the older generation something, right? And we're not getting into work ethic so much as we are this discussion. We'll talk about that in another message. But I think what we're looking at in this particular video is, okay, can I be vulnerable to get this crap out, to get this junk out of my soul, instead of burying it through masculinity and doubling down on, let's bust our knuckles and bloody ourselves in the name of warrior manhood, that's all crumbling. You can be super strong, talking about inwardly and in character and integrity and as an individual, by sharing what you've buried in order to bring that egoic structure to light, to love it, and send love to that neglected area of our life, in order that the beauty and the strength of the Spirit can arise and come forth. See, what we're after, men, is the strength of spirit. He waxed strong. Christ waxed strong in spirit in those desolate times, those desolate areas, those dry and humid times of challenge. He waxed strong in spirit. He didn't wax strong in egoic structure. He didn't wax strong in the egoic way of mind. He waxed strong in spirit. So how did he do that? Well, he was vulnerable before mankind. You ever notice that with Jesus when he walked the earth? It's like, okay, he was vulnerable to the degree that he knew that, that those that are around him, especially the disciples. But he also unveiled some of that by his deep discussions with everyone else. And if we're going to be the men, especially, and women that God has called us to be, not do, to be, then that looks a whole lot like unconditional love. And when we have unconditional love in operation internally, then we turn inward and have self-awareness that, wait a minute, maybe this challenge that I'm in right now, maybe this difficulty, maybe this time span that I'm in is meant to break down the walls of something in order for me to see it clearly and share those things to get them up and out to be loved on, so that the strength of who I really am, the authentic structure and nature of my spirit, the real me, comes forward in order to make a shift in the planet. I mean, you want to make a difference in the world, right? Maybe you are. Maybe you're this person that is, but there's always more unveiling. There's always more growth. There's always more deconstruction, if you will, happening to the egoic realm in our lives. And so what I really see for men this coming year and beyond is this ability, this green light that God is saying, hey, I'm going to bring people around you so that you can feel safe enough to be able to share in such a way that will not only set other men free, but more importantly, set you free first. And when it does, your wife, your significant other, the people that you love in your life are going to be way better off for it. Because we all know that women want to connect emotionally with a man, and they love the strength of a man, but the strength comes from the Spirit. So get excited, my friend, because you're about ready to be set free in such a way that's going to empower you and not tear you down. So get ready for what's coming, because it's coming fast, and it's a good thing. All right. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening.